everybody to the Rhodecase88 walkthrough video. I'm Chris with Virtuscape, and I'm so proud to present this to you. Why another Rhodes library? There's so many on the market, there is. Well, I just found a few things missing from most of them. I just built the instrument that I wanted to have. So from left to right, you'll see we have the keys layer here, the velocity table, your pad layer, your shape effects, and your built-in effects like chorus, phaser, reverb, and delay. So let's go to the keys layer here. So obviously you have your volume here, and this volume knob here corresponds to the amp section, which you can put the Rhodes through. For example, the Fender Twin right here. You can also put it through a few unique sounds like an old tube radio, a little iron speaker, a 90s handheld telephone. This 201 and 501 here are actually spring reverbs. And you see we have a car radio here as if you're sitting in a car. We have a wide version and a closed version. I'll play those for you in just a minute. So that's the volume for the amp layer here. You can blend this into taste for any of these selections here. This here, you'll see this is a high cut filter right here. You have your standard tremolo. Now this particular Rhodes, the preamp has a more of a square wave tremolo versus the older, Janus preamps that had more of a, they call it cat's eye, but it sounds to our ears more maybe like a triangle sort of sine wave type of thing. But this one is more of a square wave, a hard, left and right. Underneath here, this is your vibrato. So what we have here is a little vibrato circuit, Univibe style vibrato. With the depth knob, you'll hear, and I'll play it for you in a minute, you'll hear there's some pitch modulation going up, moving up and down, moving the pitch up and down. Some volume and a bit of phasing, a phaser. So all three of those combined, that's sort of what's going on under the hood here with this depth knob. So this really is one of the features that I decided to put in here that I was missing from a lot of my favorite, Rhodes libraries that existed on the market. Okay, let me just play a little bit of this for you here. I'll turn the vibe off, the trem off, and the amp off. Let's just hear the keys layer as it is right here. You can hear that bark. That's also something that I longed for in all of my favorite libraries. They got loud and gritty, but I need that bark. You gotta have the bark, especially in the low end. So, as you'll notice, you don't really see any noises here for like the release samples or, pedal noise or anything like that. That's by design, Gone are the days of tweaking and, I don't know about you, but when time is money and when there's deadlines present, if I'm writing for TV or film or what have you, sometimes deadline will be tomorrow. I just want to load something up that sounds great and put it right in the mix and keep it pushing and move it forward. The overall design behind this library it's a very performative instrument, very performative instrument. That being said, you know, all of these controls, including these power buttons here, all the controls can be MIDI mapped to your controller. So you just right click on any of these, click Learn MIDI CC, and then you can just press a button, you know, and it will turn on and off, right? So that being said, let me map something for you and just demonstrate some of the features here in the keys layer. So I'm going to turn the vibe on. I'm going to turn the trem on. Now, by default, the tremolo is mapped to the modulation wheel. So when you install the plugin and you just open it up, you'll have the stereo pan right on your mod wheel. So let me just play a chord. That's just the mod wheel there. Notice how wide you can get. Now, that's a bit wider than what you can get in real life on the real thing. But again, that is a design choice. I wanted to make this instrument, you know, a standalone Rhodes instrument with no frills, you know, to be able to stand up against the others. However, I wanted to give you, you know, the tools that you need to really go beyond what you can do in real life. You know, I'm a bit of a forward thinker, a bit of a painter, if you will, and I remember playing this Rhodes. This is my exact Rhodes. I played with Terrace Martin. I used to be in Terrace Martin's band, and if you're on the musician scene in LA, maybe you've been to a show that we've played at this Del Monte Speakeasy downstairs, or the Virgil, these type of things. But I always wanted a pad that I can MIDI to that. I would carry a motif and I would put the motif on top of the Rhodes. I'm like, man, I wish I had a MIDI cable I can just put, you know, here. So that's also the idea behind the pad layer, right? So I'll show you the pad layer in detail in a minute, but let's get back to the MIDI mapping here. So I'm going to right click on the depth knob, Learn MIDI CC, and move my MIDI controller here. I have an expression pedal on my foot. That's just CC11, your standard expression pedal, right? I'm going to leave the rate where it is, and let's hear it. Now, that may be awkward for some, but for, let's say, lo-fi producers, that's right on the money. And the particular music that I make, I use this all the time. So what you can do with the MIDI mapping, you can map multiple controls to the same knob. So I'm going to also map the rate here. Learn MIDI CC, move the controller. Now you see they're in sync. So watch this. I'll start with it down. Starting to get a little weird here. Right, I'm turning this rate here for the tremolo up. Again, in real life, maybe you don't need it that fast. You know, I don't ever remember. Well, first of all, you can't go that fast on the real thing. But again, this sort of hyper artistic, colorful thing that we have here, you can do that with. You know, sometimes you need that, sometimes you don't. A lot of times you don't, sure. But it's here if you need it. If you really need to, let's say you can use this Rhodes to blend with your existing favorite Rhodes even. Well, you can blend the overall volume of this library with your other favorite one, put on some of these, you know, maybe even mix the pen, you know, so you can sync the rate, the tremolo rate to your existing favorite Rhodes and now your new favorite with this one. And you can play them together, you know. So I really want you to just think about how you can possibly use this in that way. You know, I designed it as a tool to be inserted into your existing template if you're a composer, you know. If you're a live performer like me, when I first moved to LA, I was using nothing but MIDI controllers and laptops, and I was using Ableton Live. And this is meant to go right in your live template. It's under 1 gigabyte installed. It's under 1 gigabyte, yes. It's like 800 or less megabytes, this entire thing. So it's very lightweight, very easy on your system. So you're going to have a lot of fun with this. So now let me just show you one more thing about, in the keys layer, about the MIDI mapping, right? So we have the depth, the rate mapped. What if we also map the rate of the tremolo as well? So now we have both of the rate knobs. See what this sounds like. Okay. So again, you know, you can look, let's map the filter here. I just want you to think about, you know, painting with some different colors. Watch this. All right. So on and so forth, you know, so you get the idea. So I hope this is firing off some imagination maneuvers for you. All right, so let's I'm going to remove all this mapping here. That's default. Okay. Remove this, put it back. Now you hear we got some reverb and delay going on. I'm just going to leave that there for a second. Now, let's hear what this sounds like through a Fender Twin, which is a very common speaker to use. Right? Watch this. We got an iron speaker right here. So these are effectively like EQ curves, you know, that you can use. Here's a 90s telephone. Let's blend this in. One of my favorites, here's the car stereo. Turn the reverb off, here we go. That's like when you're doing the mix check in the car, you know. Here's a wide version of the car radio. Let's turn it down a little bit. So you heard those. Now let's take a listen to these spring reverbs here. Some high drive right here. Overdrive. What that means is on the hardware unit, you can really push it to get a dirty sound of the spring reverb. Same thing, you can blend it in. Right. Let's hear the 501. So obviously, maybe you're thinking, okay, I can blend the spring reverb with the regular reverb right here. And I would say you are right. I would say you are correct. So you're going to have a lot of fun with that there. Now let's go to the velocity table here. So this is where, you can kind of see the incoming velocity of your keyboard on this straight up and down line right here. All right, so when you do that, let's say you're playing your softest and you're not really reaching down here with your controller. Well, you can just click a point where you see you're not getting enough, and then I'm right clicking and dragging. You get a little curve here. You see what's happening? It's moving the top as well. Okay, and you can drag this point. Now it's getting a little softer. Let's make a little curve here as well. So you get the idea. You can really tailor this, and you just double click to remove a node. Okay. You can really dial that into your keyboard. That's what this is for. A lot of the keyboards, they don't send out MIDI the same way. What I mean by that is the outgoing MIDI curve. Even though you can have a weighted keyboard on a normal curve and a semi-weighted on a normal curve, you're not going to get the same response. So that's why you need this velocity table, just to really dial in how it responds, because it's going to play and seem like it's so much better and enjoyable when it responds to your playing properly. So you can really dial that in. All right, let's go to the shape effects down here. If you notice, maybe you didn't, maybe you did, but if you notice, the low end on here, it's a bit hyped, and that is by design. You don't realize when you need it. If you're playing left-hand bass or something, you need that low end. But if you don't want it, you can easily this is a low cut right here. Just turn this up a little bit. Right? So it's 20 hertz. So I would go about 100 or so. And that's about, that's about standard. But if you need more, you just bring that puppy back. So you can do that same thing here with the high cut. If you need a darker sound, just dial this back. And I use both of these in tandem. They are a slightly different cue, a slightly different flavor of high cut. So, you can really use these two to get your filtering exactly how you want them. All right, so that's what these two knobs are here for. So here, this drive here, this is more of a saturation circuit type of thing. You'll really notice it starting to get gritty towards the top of the move here. So I'll just play a chord for you and move this so you can hear it. This high cut. Right, so that's what's going on there with that drive there. We have a compressor right here. And you got your makeup gain. You got 30 dB of makeup gain right here. And you hear the noise there from those releases. That's really what adds to the realism, is that noise. Again, this Rhodes was sampled directly off of the harp, a 1/4 inch out of the harp. So here's some chorus here. So, you'll hear it's a slightly more narrow sound, and this is so that, I don't know about you, but usually when I get a library like this, a Rhodes or a piano, these types of things, I'm going to add my own effects that I normally use, that I love, that I go to. For example, one of my favorites is the Universal Audio Studio D chorus. So, I will use this in combination with that. This is a bit of a different flavor chorus, so I like to blend it in and season it to taste, to get a different sound, a different flavor of the same effect. So same kind of goes with the phaser here. Let's keep the depth on 100. So what I like to do with this, you hear that fast speed, that's kind of similar to like, the flutter of an old record. So I like to include this vibe with the phaser to get a sort of, wow and flutter thing going on. Right? So again, let's map these two rates together. Learn. So you see, again, it's a very performative instrument, very tactile, visceral instrument that you really need to play in order to be like, oh, okay, this is, yes, okay. So that being said, one of the standout features of this library is the reverb hold feature, or it's a reverb freeze. It just suspends the reverb tail in midair. So I'm going to put some drive on here, okay? I'm going to make it a little darker from this one and this one. All right, and now I'm going to turn the size all the way up just so we can hear, what that is. All right. It's a gorgeous sounding, very long, very open sounding reverb. All right. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to right click and map the power button for this hold to a knob. Okay, that's the tremolo. So let me remove this. Right. So I'm pressing the button on my controller and you see it's okay. So here we go. I'm going to catch this reverb tail. Now it's suspended, so I'm going to bring the mix back a little bit. I'm going to turn the tremolo on. And the vibe back on. Maybe take some lows out. Here. Take some lows out. Now I can play on top of this. Yes, you get the idea. Right, so the delay as well works together with this. Stereo ping pong. All right. So you got the left and right independently that you can change. Same with the feedback of the left and the right. Again, you're going to use this in combination with your existing favorite effects. So if you have let's say you have a delay preset that's very wide, very washy, well, you can make this echo small then. You make this one very small, let's say. Let's turn the reverb off here. All right. Okay, that's pretty nice. So let's bring the reverb back on. And actually, I'm going to change the size of this reverb to be a little bit of a smaller room. And then I'm going to bring this 501 back in, the spring reverb. See, it's a more high-pitched sort of thing. All right. And then the echo. You see? So this is the sort of thing that you can do with this. Now, let's go look at the pad layer here. So just like the keys layer, you have a volume, of course, but you also have the filter, the high cut filter, which is the same style of filter here. All right, but you also have your ADSR to control the different sounds. Okay, so we've got warm analog, synth strings, synth brass, a felted toy piano, which was a fun experiment, A100. This is a Hammond organ, an A100 with a Leslie 122. And this 8-inch here is the first white drawbar. It's perfect for, let's just hear that real quick. This one, if you're an organist or organ player, if you spend any time with B3, you know that white, there's something about that first white drawbar that's just so sweet. It for country, it works perfectly for slow ballads, to just sit on top of your acoustic guitars and all the layers. If you're a gospel musician, it's perfect for talk music. What I like to use this for is actually to blend it with the Rhodes, just for some additional motion. So let's just hear what this sounds like alone. I'm trying to play organ on a weighted keyboard. That's funny. But you have the sustain pedal, which you can't do in real life. Again. So you can stack and this sort of thing. So when I sampled this, I turned the preamp of the Leslie speaker, the 122, I turned it up so you can get that sparkly, gritty sort of sound. Right? We also have a fast version. The thing about this is that you can switch these without the sound cutting off, which is a must if you're using this stuff live, or if you're trying to record any of these patch changes, you're going to need that. So here we go. Let's just switch from slow to fast. That's kind of cool. So I'll play some other sounds for you. Let's go to the warm analog. If you are a Yamaha Motif fan, you will definitely appreciate this. Turn the attack up. Turn the attack up a little bit. Let's filter it. Put some reverb on. Big one. Add some delay. Right. Synth strings. We're going to play this with the same attack and release. Here's the synth brass. Now, these sounds respond also to the modulation wheel. So for example, if we go back to the synth strings, you hear the slow modulation. So the mod wheel will do something different on the synth brass. Also, the pitch bend. You have an octave pitch bend range. So you can get into that, you know, let's turn the all right, like if you want to mix this with the keys layer. You can get super glitchy. Shout out to J3PO. But yes, let's check out the toy piano actually. Turn the release up on that one. Turn the volume down here. Right. So mix that with the keys. Turn the volume down to this a little bit. Now this is a sound with a lot of high end, so perfect use case for this filter here. Now when you add the vibe here, right. So that's all kind of fun right there. Now notice you have a pitch knob here. You can transpose this up or down an octave. So I love to transpose this particular sound up an octave from the Rhodes. You're getting into Smoochie's territory here. That's a real masterpiece, I tell you. Okay. So these 80s sounds, these are from a keyboard that I found in a thrift store, which I love. So here's the flute. Here is the flute sound. Put it back down. Now all these controls, mind you, you know, anything you change and you want to go back to default quickly, you can just double click like this. All right, double click. '80s brass. On these, you have the pitch bend as well on these. All right. '80s choir. This is a perfect one to turn the release up on. Let's turn the sustain down of this a little bit, but we're going to keep the decay. So you hear how it's falling off there? Let's turn the decay down a little bit. Now, of course, add some verb. We'll mix this with the Rhodes. Okay, so lastly, let's talk about how to save a preset. All right, so the preset browser is up here in the top right of the interface. So you just click here. You just press this plus sign to make a new bank. We'll go live set. Click on live set that you just made. Press the plus for the category. We'll go show one. Okay. And then, so you press this plus here to enter the name of your new preset. So we'll go song one. All right, so double click song one. So now we have this, which is the same as that default, dry harp. We didn't make any changes. We just renamed this, essentially. So now if we want to update this, say we want to add a pad to it. Okay, click on this here, song one. Make a new preset. We got song two. All right, so now double click this to get out of here. So now we can use these left and right arrows. So I hope you're starting to see the possibilities of how you can use this in your existing, workflow. It's really a powerful tool for sound design and for just creating your own unique versions of the same similar sounds that we're all used to. So have fun with it. Just go to the website, www.virtuscapeaudio.com. That's VIRTUSCAPE audio. Thank you so much, and I'm excited to see what you do with it.